Markalar, Mimari Trendler ve Destinasyonlar ve bu alanda fark yaratan, aynı zamanda müthiş yol haritaları belirleyen panelistlerimiz bizlerle beraber olacak ama önce moderatörümüzü davet edelim. Bu önemli paneli modere etmek üzere Servotel Yönetici Ortağı Sayın Ayla Heyfegil'i davet etmek istiyorum. Ve panelistlerimiz Zeynep FADILLIOⴷLU şirketi kurucusu ve yöneticisi Sayın Zeynep FADILLIODLU. Collection Brands EMEA Marriott International Kıdemli Direktörü Mark James. Space Architects&Designers&ALAN Proje Geliştirme Yönetimi Kurucu Ortağı Sayın Kaan ÇETİNKAYA. İyi paneller, iyi seyirler.
Teşekkür ediyorum. Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Hepiniz hoş geldiniz öncelikle. Müsaade ederseniz paneli İngilizce yapmak istiyoruz. Çünkü yabancı misafirlerimiz var ve yurt dışında çok çalışan önemli mimarlarımız bizimle birlikte bugün. Öncelikle bir tanıtımı Türkçe yapayım. Ondan sonra isteyen kulaklık hemen dışarıda var. İngilizceye dönebiliriz. Hello, welcome. Zeynep Hanım, thank you very much for coming and being with us today because your arm, I know you had a small accident, but thank you for taking the time and being here with us today.
Thank you.
Mark James. Mark is the Senior Director of Marriott Group. He is in charge of collection brands, but he is a previous interior designer at WATG and a passionate storyteller. That's how he defines himself. And Zeynep FADILLIODLU is the founder and designer of Zeynep FADILLIODLU Design, and she opened her office in 1995, I believe, if I'm not wrong. But she is very famous at what she does, not only in Turkey, but all around the world, especially with creating very interesting living and social spaces. I think she got quite a number of awards on that too. And Kaan ÇETİNKAYA is also a very important architect. He is the founder and partner of Space Architects and Designers. Kaan also likes to tell stories in his designs, and his motto is the marketing-oriented design. So I'll just go ahead and show you a few slides on a new report that we have been working on, and this has been published in different media. It's not the Servotel's work, it's an international work, but we have been getting some inspiration on that. This is the report about the new trends in tourism and new trends in destinations, brands, and architectural approach. And when we look at the tourism today, after the recovery of the COVID, what we see is that there are changes in new destinations. And there are different destinations are being sought, not only the main capitals, but also small towns. And people are no longer traveling in the season to wherever they go. They are changing seasons, they are going off season to different places as well. The methods of traveling is also slightly changing. We were talking about it this morning. We used to use trains, and then there were planes, and now we turn back to the trains, and there are some lovely new design trains all around the world. So the trends are changing, and what we are going to talk today is the new changes in the next coming 10 to 15 years. So, Mark, my first question is to you, and just tell us about the boutique hotels and soft brands. When we look at the trends, we see that the soft brands are becoming very popular, especially they bring in the character of the culture. So how do you position in Marriott this thing?
Yes, well, thank you for having me today. Yes, Mark James looking after the collection brands for EMEA. That is the luxury collection, the autograph collection, and the tribute portfolio. Talking about growth, we're seeing tremendous growth with the collection brands at the moment. both for existing conversion properties, but also for some new build opportunities. You see here some of the graphs. The Autograph collection that we have now is actually the fastest growing brand that Marriott has ever had. Being caught up now by the Tribute portfolio, one of the brands that we acquired through the Starwood acquisition, with the luxury collection, as you would imagine, a little bit more of a steady growth. But we see the collection brands as a real opportunity for some of our existing loyalty members to experience hotels, boutique hotels, that they might not have been able to experience before. You can see here in terms of the global footprint, the luxury collection, 120 hotels now open globally. A large number of these are in Europe. The luxury collection is very much a European brand, and with a further 35 globally in the pipeline. Autograph collection, 291 hotels open globally. That's been achieved in the space of about 11 or 12 years now. Just to put that into context, I think we have around 500 Marriott core brand hotels globally, and that's taken about 75 years. So we've been able to achieve that, and with a significant pipeline, around 150 hotels that we see across the globe. And the Tribute portfolio is actually now catching us up. 100, we reached a really important milestone the other day. You'll see the stand that we have out in the foyer. 100 hotels now open globally, with 156 hotels in the pipeline. So actually, we're seeing a little bit more growth with the Tribute portfolio brand now than the Autograph collection. Why is this? Why are we seeing these growth in these collection brands? Well, fundamentally, there are fewer and more flexible brand standards which we apply to these hotels, which allow the hotels to express their individual personality, both through the interior design, but also through the guest experience. But they are treated the same as any of our hotel brands, right? They have the same access to the loyalty program, the same sales and marketing tools, the same revenue management tools. So it really does help the owners to really drive that top line, but also to kind of reduce the bottom line as well. So in terms of positioning, we have the luxury collection. Clearly that will sit in the luxury tier. The Autograph collection has hotels that sit between upper upscale and luxury. And the Tribute portfolio now has brands that sit between upscale and upper upscale.
Yeah, I think when we look at what you are telling us is Marriott also takes into consideration the new trends of localization. So you are really trying to localize your product and also give the same benefits to the owner who wants you as a brand, as a support in the management. So I think localization, as you say, comes from not only on the management, but also on the design side of it. So maybe we can ask Zeynep how she treats the localization process of any product when she first designs it. And we know that you are not only designing the hotels or restaurants, but you are also designing some very important mosques, especially in the Middle East.
Well, thank you very much. Actually, I have started design in 1982, and I have started with hospitality mainly. Over 30 restaurants and clubs I had designed. Later on, I designed, or in the meantime, some houses, and then I went on to hotels, and very recently, after having designed Shakirin Mosque, I was commissioned another 14 mosques outside Turkey in the Middle East area, some of them which I executed as also construction. So we are, as a team, because I'm coming as a founding architectural designer, I have always put together a team of people from architects, because I'm not an architect, but architects at the same time, designers, stage designers, painters, because I believe that an interior especially should be a cocoon, especially if it's a house, of the person using or the clients using it. So creating a cocoon with just a line sometimes is not enough, and we have to have surfaces, we have to have different finishes, we have to appeal to the senses, and we have to be able to understand the client. So what we are doing is we understand first the brief very well. This is mainly, especially if we are talking, Mark, about a hotel, where we have to understand the brand and what the brand requires from us. And then we have to see how we can contribute to that brand. We are mainly timeless, I would call our style, because I like adding the timey trends onto the timelessness so that the people using it, whether it's one or a number of people, or whether it's the decision makers, that they can change it with tiny details over the time, and that we like right now, after having so much in copy-paste culture, we have around tons of hotels that look alike. And at the end, you only go for location, whereas I think Ayla will be mentioning this, or Mark, that destination is an important issue, but at the same time, the culture of the hotel is another issue, and boutique hotels, as he mentioned, will be very, very important. Probably Kaan is going to mention it as well. And we are trying to create more bespoke something to the client or clients, rather than just letting in the past, floating it with just certain lines of the brand and being carried all around the world with the same kind of lines. And where you don't feel, actually, if you are in Istanbul or in Abu Dhabi or in Iceland, you feel the same thing. So this is the main character, I would say. Timelessness for our design is important, and of course the briefs of the client, and of course craftsmanship, which I will come to maybe if we have time.
Of course, I think the next generation who'll be traveling from today in the next 50 years would be looking for something different when they come to any property, any hotel or any location. So they don't want to wake up in a property where it can be in, as you say, in Helsinki, in Paris or in Istanbul. So they want to feel what is inside, and when they wake up and open the window, they want to be able to associate where they slept with the city itself. So Kaan, I think you have a very good experience on that. And as you say, your motto is marketing the destinations when you are designing. So can you tell us your approach and how you are putting the whole legacy behind the story and the legacy behind the design?
Thank you very much. Yes, when we are talking about the trends in the industry, about design, I believe it is the story behind the design rather than the design. So this is also the guests are seeking for at the moment. That's why this collection of hotels are spreading very rapidly. Also, because this, which consists of a story and a user experience related with this story in thematic or narrative hotels. So we are talking about the hotels which have their own branding and own theme. And that's why Hilton side and Marriott side, or all big brands, created collection hotels to collect this kind of own branded hotels under themselves, and which is very good. Why? Because now users are experiencing this kind of authentic branding under the umbrella of core brands. So under the umbrella of their safety and comfort standards, because in a no-name, a local hotel, you cannot be sure about the comfort and safety standards before you go. Anyhow, I would like to show you how we create a methodology of own branding hotel, and how we create this story and make the design on top of it. There's a hotel we recently opened at Karaköy, which is called Burdak Hotel. We branded the name Burdak. How? First, when we commissioned this project, we started to find a local story. There's a lot of stories at Karaköy, but most of them were corrupted. What we found is the Garantor was a port for thousands of years, and it was a part of Silk Road. And the commodities come from Far East, Iran, Anatolia, and they're passing to Europe by ships. So Karaköy was, in fact, was a connection of cultures, and crossroads of cultures. And whether these commodities, the main commodities of this Silk Road trade is silk, carpet, and rock. And there's a common motif on them, which is called burdock. And this burdock motif also has a shape which is like a hub, and a locally rooted story at Anatolia. They called it Dul Avrat Otu motifi in Anatolia. And there's a lot of meanings, a locally rooted story on top of that. So we decided to create this brand for the hotel, and we create all the design on top of that. Then we put, although it's a local rooted story, we could try to create a contemporary hotel. So we put the motto of New Anatolian Chic. And these as a target market and in situation cap, that we find that we try to create the values of the hotel. In some ideas come in front, some ideas come, say, more recessive. And then afterwards we created the values of the hotel, and we put the brand promises, we put the brand personality, and after these stages we come to the design. So then all the color scheme, accessories, materials start to come together. And afterwards, we try to think about some ideas about management to reinforce the brand, because it's not the branding and design, when it is done like only a name and the logo design, it is not sustainable. So, for example, this slide, we are offering we created a burdock cologne from the plant, and we are offering akide suite, which is a very traditional
local suite, yeah.
thing. So we try to combine user experience design with a local rooted story together with the design. So this Anatolian chic concept with the name come together with all the story, interior design, architecture, and user experience design. So I think this is, after on top of that, we start to make the renders on the same branding. Then these were the renders. For example, we use the chains resembling the ropes, root-dyed ropes for the carpet waving. And at the restaurant, we put brass mesh on the wall. So the art students came and had make waving. They made cross-stitch resembling burdock motifs.
And
so,
I think,
yeah.
just to cut you there, and I think you also are talking about a second level of sustainability there, because today sustainability is no longer a carbon zero. Today sustainability is taking from the culture that you are in and giving back to the culture. So when you are doing all these, most probably you use the very good craftsmen who are living in the area, who know what they are doing. And I see that you use a lot of materials, again, from the locality itself.
Exactly.
So that's also what you are trying to do. That's what I understand.
Exactly, exactly.
So going back to you, Mark, now we are talking about the trends.
Yes.
It's not only the brands or the design, it's also the loyalty of the client. How are we going to get the new generation loyal to what we are doing in the designs as well as in the hotels? The previous loyalty programs were used to be when you stay, you get a certain point, and then you have to use that point while you're staying. So what do you have in Marriott?
Well, as you know, the Bonvoy platform is one of the most important components that we have for Marriott. And as you say, you would historically earn points, spend them to save at the hotel. But we have evolved now. You can use your points in very different ways. I myself just recently converted some points into air miles, right? So you can now buy air miles with your points. You can buy what we call Marriott moments, right? Where you might have a moment with Lewis Hamilton or in the paddock of McLaren, and people can bid with their points. It's kind of like a raffle, and they can enjoy these moments. And moving forward, I think in terms of technology, we're talking, this isn't quite here yet, but we are talking with certain partnerships so that you could use your points to buy a Starbucks coffee or something like that. This is how we're trying to adjust this for the new generation.
Especially the new generation is now very used to getting memberships from Netflix and being a member of clubs so that they can use it all around the world, not in their locality, but all around the world. So most probably that's what all the hoteliers would need to do in order to give them moments, not only bed nights, but give them something more on top of it.
And it's constantly evolving, constantly evolving.
Yeah. It's so hard to develop anything for the next generation. I had one in the morning in my car. My daughter was traveling with me, and she checked what I'll be talking, and she said, "No, Mom, you have to talk about AI as well." So yes. it's going to be very hard to make them happy at the end of the day. Coming back to you, Zeynep, what do you think about the, especially the design of the spaces? Because nowadays, the family travels all together, or there are lots of group travels. So that means the demand for different sizes of accommodation also arises, because you are doing things in the Saudi Arabia, in the Middle East. I saw that. How do you approach that? There are more different variations in the room structures, in the room sizes. Do you agree with me on that?
It's a good question. Actually, I'm working around the world, as you say. Right now, from Berlin to Abu Dhabi and in Oman and hopefully in Saudi soon, but in Doha. And each place has got its own clientele and its own demands. It depends on if we are working for a hotelier client or if we are working for an owner, because as you know today, many of them are differentiated. The investor is the owner and the hotelier is the one who knows the management. Sometimes this gets even confused. And I believe that the brand makers, the hoteliers, brief is very important about the area. I try to understand the area. If there isn't any brief, I try to understand the culture of the people who are going to use it in the area, and then try to appeal to the world at the same time, be up to date with the AI and everything else. But usually, there is somebody with guidelines in this kind of hotel management. Each one, we have worked for Six Senses, was completely different. We have recently designed the 4 buildings of the peninsula on Karaköy. They had very, very different guidelines for a long time, very well controlled.
I saw the rooms, by the way. They're lovely.
I think it's a jewel for Turkey, for sure. And we have worked in Büyükada for just hopefully this year opening somewhere that is up to the client to announce. And we have worked for Çedi in Qatar, but for the client. So depends actually who you are working for, and we have to be very well focused on that. Of course, today's understanding is different, but also the hotelier's understanding is different. It's not necessarily always that the hotelier is up to that date. Sometimes they want to be more traditional. Sometimes they want to be more timeless and not being affected by the trend so much, but with little differences. Others, they want to be completely trendy, which can outwear itself in very soon, much nearer to today, let's say, and altmodisch in the near future. And of course, this is up to the person who gives the money. So it's
That's
not
right.
our decision because we work for a client at the end of the day. But today, destinations are important, as what you were saying, and boutiqueness, like Kaan was mentioned, is going to be, I think, definitely reached for because hotels are hubs and people have their clubs, their restaurants to go to in the neighborhood if they have a small hotel in the nearby. So it's very important, I find.
That's right. When Kaan was showing me his design on this one, I thought people around that hotel would be using that hotel a lot for a cup of coffee, for the gym, for the just to have dining, because they would feel they are part of that hotel with your design, what you have created there. So just to tell us, while you are doing this hotel, most probably you did, as I said, use a lot of craftsmanship, sustainability. How did you approach to the sustainability in that project?
I would like to talk about the sustainability at design-wise, because about design, sustainability is the story. Again, I have to mention that one, because we are consuming the trends so rapidly because of the information age. But if you create the story first and create the design afterwards on top of that, then that design is the design of that story. Nobody can criticize it. You may like it or not, but it is a good design because of that story. It's a design of that story is not something that you can criticize, so it becomes sustainable. So in design-wise, I can say that the sustainability is the story.
So once you design something sustainable, it will be there and you don't need to change and renovate. Renovate maybe yes, but not change in every 10 years because the trends have changed, because the colors have changed.
So more feasible.
So exactly, it will be there longer in a life period. So I don't know if my guests have any final words to say, Mark?
No, I would echo Kaan's point. I think the collection brands inherently are sustainable. I mean, we have multiple brands. Obviously, these brands evolve. And we talked about renovations earlier. You know, there are many hotels that have to go through that renovation cycle, especially if the brands evolve. For these storied hotels, for these collection brand hotels, I think that's inherently built in. You know, it's part of the fabric of the building. It's part of the fabric of the local area. And so, yes, you need to renovate for wear and tear, but I think from an intrinsic point of view, it's built into the actual property itself. So I think that we will see continued growth for these collection brands, especially in this part of the world and the Middle East and Africa. I think there's
And in new destinations as well, I hope.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, so we've just recently signed a new autograph in Cappadocia. I'm very excited about having an autograph in Cappadocia. I was there 7 years ago, and I thought this is the place we need to have an autograph collection. Uludağ as well as a ski resort, so to add to the complement of hotels that we have here in Istanbul.
Perfect, because that's also very important in the new trends, new destinations.
I think craftsmanship is very important, as you have mentioned. I've been working over 30 years with artists in craftsmanship for the perfection of it. But when you include craftsmanship, as you have said, automatically the local craftsmanship of the area makes a link between the people creating in that area and people using. So I think that it will be a very important issue in the near future, as well as the destinations.
Thank you. Kaan? Any last words? No.
No.
Thank you. If we don't have any questions from the audience, I would like to thank you for your attention. And if you have any question, my guests would be outside. Thank you.
Biz de çok teşekkür
very much.
ediyoruz. Foto booth için sizi dışarıdaki foto booth alanına
Very
davet
nice to meet
ediyoruz
you.
efendim.